Ethan had never been good with new beginnings. The start of the semester should have felt exciting, but as he carried his last box into the small college dorm, all he could think about was how quiet it was without Liam's voice in his ear. They had broken up only a month ago, and though Ethan tried to act fine, every corner of his mind still echoed with the things they didn't say. His new roommate was supposed to move in later that day, and Ethan hoped whoever it was would be quiet, clean, and maybe too busy to notice how lost he looked. The door swung open right as he finished unpacking. A tall guy with a duffel bag slung over one shoulder stood there, his hair still damp from a shower, wearing a tank top that made it impossible not to notice the definition of his arms. "You must be Ethan," he said with a bright grin. "I'm Ryan." His voice carried a confidence that filled the room instantly. Ethan smiled back shyly and nodded. "Yeah, hey, welcome." The first few days were mostly polite silence. Ryan was part of the college swim team, often gone for long practices or late-night workouts. Ethan was a psychology major, spending most evenings reading or typing essays on his laptop, but living in the same space had its own rhythm. Ryan hummed while brushing his teeth. Ethan listened to lo-fi music when studying. Little by little, their separate worlds began to overlap in quiet ways. One night, Ryan asked if he could borrow Ethan's phone charger. The simple exchange somehow turned into a 2-hour conversation about music, bad professors, and campus food. Ethan noticed how easy it was to laugh around him. Ryan had that kind of energy. Open, honest, a little chaotic. He always seemed like he belonged wherever he was, and Ethan couldn't help but be drawn to that. Still, he reminded himself that this was just a roommate situation. Nothing more. Days passed, and life settled into a comfortable routine. They shared breakfast sometimes, Ryan teasing Ethan for drinking too much coffee while Ethan joked about Ryan's obsession with protein bars. The dorm started feeling less like a space Ethan was surviving in, and more like a home. Until one afternoon changed everything. It was a rainy Saturday, the kind where the sky looked like it had forgotten how to stop crying. Ryan had told him earlier that morning he'd be at the gym most of the day. Ethan took the rare opportunity to enjoy some peace. He played soft music, took a long shower, and let the warm water wash away the weight of the week. He stepped out, towel around his waist, humming without a thought. The sound of the door unlocking didn't even register until he turned toward the noise. Ryan stood in the doorway, water dripping from his hair, eyes wide. For a split second, neither of them moved. Ethan's breath caught in his throat, every muscle frozen. Ryan blinked, startled, then looked away so fast it almost made Ethan laugh. "Oh my, sorry!" "I didn't—" He turned his back, hand on his face, embarrassed. Ethan's heart raced, his cheeks burning. "It's fine," he said quickly, grabbing his clothes. But it wasn't fine, not really. Something unspoken passed between them, a flicker of tension, a shift in the air that both noticed but neither addressed. The rest of the day was strange. Ryan apologized again, overly polite, while Ethan brushed it off, pretending it didn't matter. But it did. Every time Ryan looked at him, even casually, Ethan could feel something lingering there, a kind of awareness. That night, as they both lay in their beds, the room was heavy with silence. Ethan stared at the ceiling, wide awake, listening to the sound of Ryan's breathing. He wondered if Ryan was thinking about it too. When Ryan finally spoke, his voice was softer than usual. "You ever feel like you meet someone at the exact wrong time?" Ethan froze, unsure how to respond. Ryan gave a small laugh. "Forget it. Just thinking out loud." Ethan didn't reply. He closed his eyes, pretending to sleep, but his heart wouldn't calm down. That one accidental moment had changed something between them, something neither of them could name yet. And as the rain kept falling outside, Ethan realized he wasn't just thinking about his ex anymore. He was thinking about his roommate, and how strange it felt to want something you knew you shouldn't. The days after that awkward encounter seemed normal on the surface, but Ethan could feel that something underneath had shifted. The air between them carried an invisible weight, a tension that neither wanted to acknowledge but couldn't completely ignore. Ryan started spending more time in the dorm, claiming the weather was too bad for training, though Ethan suspected it wasn't just the rain that kept him inside. Sometimes, Ethan would catch Ryan looking at him in that quiet, thoughtful way that made him forget to breathe. Ethan tried to act like it didn't bother him. He filled his schedule with study sessions and long walks around campus, but every time he came back, Ryan was there, reading on his bed, headphones around his neck, or sprawled out across the floor with a lazy grin. He'd wave Ethan over, ask about his day, and listen more closely than anyone ever had. Slowly, that awkwardness turned into something warm, familiar, dangerous. One evening, the campus power went out. The entire dorm building fell into darkness, and the only light came from Ryan's phone flashlight. "Guess we're stuck," he said with a chuckle. Ethan laughed nervously and joined him on the floor. They shared a bag of chips, talking quietly while the world outside disappeared into night. Ryan spoke about his childhood near the coast, how he'd joined the swim team to escape feeling invisible. Ethan admitted that after his breakup, he'd forgotten how to feel anything at all. Their words came softer, slower, almost like confessions. The room grew smaller, and their knees brushed. Neither moved away. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was electric. Ethan could feel Ryan's gaze on him, steady and searching. He looked up, and their eyes met. The moment stretched, and for one dangerous heartbeat, the whole world stood still. Ethan stood up quickly, mumbling something about needing air. Ryan reached out and caught his wrist just for a second. "You don't have to run," he said quietly. His touch was gentle but firm, a simple hold that spoke louder than words. Ethan froze, the world spinning inside his chest, before finally pulling his hand away and walking into the hallway. He didn't sleep that night. Every sound reminded him of that touch. The hum of the fridge, the drip of the faucet, the slow rhythm of Ryan's breathing across the room. When morning came, the sunlight pouring in through the blinds made everything feel even more unreal. Ryan acted normal, making jokes, asking about breakfast like nothing had happened. Ethan tried to do the same, but his thoughts kept circling back to the way Ryan had looked at him in the dark, like he wanted to understand something he couldn't explain. As the week went on, the tension softened into something quieter, more subtle. Ryan started leaving small notes, "Don't skip lunch," or "Good luck on your psych test." They shared late-night snacks, stories about old friends, and silent moments that felt heavier than words. Ethan didn't tell anyone about it, not even when Liam texted one night saying, "Miss your voice." He stared at the screen for a long time before putting his phone away without replying. One Saturday afternoon, Ethan came back from class to find Ryan asleep on his bed, still in his swim gear, one arm resting on Ethan's pillow. For a moment, Ethan just stood there watching him breathe. The rise and fall of Ryan's chest, the quiet peace on his face, it stirred something deep inside him. He knew he should wake him up, but he didn't. Instead, he sat on the edge of his own bed, pretending to study, even as his eyes kept drifting back. That night, Ethan dreamed of the ocean, wide, endless, terrifying. He woke up to find Ryan's blanket had slipped to the floor. Without thinking, he picked it up and covered him. Ryan stirred, eyes opening just long enough to whisper, "Thanks." The word lingered in the dark like a secret. The next morning, Ryan smiled at him over breakfast. "You know, you snore when you're stressed," he teased. Ethan rolled his eyes, pretending to throw a napkin at him, but when their hands brushed over the cereal box, neither of them moved away. The silence stretched again, comfortable and charged. Ethan wanted to say something, anything, to break the spell, but the words never came. Because deep down he already knew the truth. Whatever this was between them, it wasn't just friendship anymore. It was something fragile and real, something that could never be said out loud. And even though he knew it was crossing a line, he didn't want to go back. Not yet. Ethan knew things couldn't stay in that quiet, uncertain place forever. The closeness with Ryan had grown into something undeniable, yet neither dared to define it. They laughed, studied, shared meals, and sometimes just existed in the same space, and somehow that was enough. But life had a cruel way of reminding him that not all feelings could stay hidden. It started with a text from Liam. "I'm on campus. Can we talk?" Ethan stared at the message for a long time, torn between curiosity and dread. He hadn't seen Liam since their breakup, and the thought of facing him now, when his heart was already tangled in confusion, made him feel sick, When Liam finally showed up outside the dorm, he looked almost the same. Same shy smile, same nervous fidgeting with his sleeves. They walked around the quad, exchanging small talk until Liam's voice broke the calm. "I made mistakes," he said softly, "but I still care about you." Ethan looked at him, unsure how to respond. There was a time those words would have meant everything, but now they felt heavy, forced. "I care about you too," Ethan said quietly. "Just not the same way anymore." Back in the dorm, Ryan was sitting on his bed, headphones off, eyes fixed on the floor. Ethan could feel the distance immediately, something unspoken hanging in the air. "You saw him," Ryan said, not as a question. Ethan nodded. He wanted to talk. Ryan forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Yeah, that's fine. I get it, but it wasn't fine." Over the next few days, Ryan grew quieter, keeping his distance. The easy laughter, the playful teasing, it all disappeared. Ethan tried to ignore how much it hurt. One night, he came back late from the library and found Ryan stuffing clothes into a gym bag. "What are you doing?" Ethan asked. Ryan didn't look up. "Coach wants me closer to the pool for early training. They found me a spare room." Ethan's stomach dropped. "You're moving out?" Ryan hesitated, then shrugged. "Didn't want to be in your way." Those words hit harder than Ethan expected. He crossed the room, voice low. "You're not in my way." Ryan finally looked at him, eyes full of something raw and unguarded. "You don't owe me anything, Ethan. You have your own thing going on." "I get it," Ethan shook his head. "It's not about owing anyone. It's about feeling something real again. And I do, when I'm around you." The room went silent. The only sound was the hum of the heater, the quiet rhythm of their breathing. Ryan dropped his bag, staring at him as if deciding whether to believe it. "You don't have to say that," he whispered. "I mean it," Ethan replied. "Even if it's wrong, even if it's messy." Ryan took a small step closer. No grand declarations, no dramatic music. Just two people standing in the dim dorm light, hearts breaking and connecting all at once. They didn't touch. They didn't need to. The truth was already there, visible in every glance, every breath. A week later, Ryan was gone. His side of the room was empty except for a folded note on the desk. Ethan opened it slowly. "Thanks for letting me feel something real. Don't lose that part of yourself." There was no signature, but he didn't need one. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan tried to adjust. Liam texted again, asking if they could start over. Ethan never replied. The dorm felt too big now, too quiet. But in that silence, he learned to listen. Not to the noise of regret or the ache of what might have been, but to his own heartbeat. He realized that infidelity wasn't always about bodies. Sometimes it happened in the heart first, in the moments you let someone see the parts of you you'd kept hidden. One evening, he found one of Ryan's old swim caps under the bed. He smiled faintly, turning it over in his hands. Then he placed it on the shelf beside a photo of him and Liam from months ago. Both reminders of how love could change you, even when it wasn't meant to last. The final scene faded with Ethan sitting by the dorm window, watching the sunset paint the walls gold. A quiet voice, his own, echoed in his mind. Sometimes love isn't about forever. Sometimes it's just about finding someone who reminds you you're still alive. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and let the light fade. The storm that once filled the room was gone now, leaving only calm, and the quiet memory of the person who had walked into his life by accident and changed it completely.